What's up, Deadheads? It's Brian Castrillo. So I just watched The Walking Dead Dead City, Episode 4, titled Everybody Wins a Prize. And when I tell you this series gets better with every episode, I am not kidding. There was beautiful CGI of the New York or the Manhattan skyline, just absolutely gorgeous. And the walkers' special effects were fantastic. But we begin this episode with a flashback, and we see Negan. If you remember when he slammed Lucille down on the table there. Well, he's sitting there with the feast. Lucille's off to the side. Then all of a sudden, Simon shows up, and Simon is a fantastic character, one of my absolute favorites. And he basically says, we got a problem. And then he starts talking with Simon, and they're talking about the story that Negan had brought up before, how the Croat did what he did to that scout, that young girl. And Simon's basically telling him, I told him not to do it. And then we see the young girl who's basically as young as Ginny, and she's tied up in a chair. She's cut up on completely tortured, and you can see the look of anguish in Negan's eyes, and he hated this. He hated seeing this because, of course, Negan didn't like anything that happened to kids. And that sets the scene, or basically the theme of this episode. And then we got our group, they're basically getting prepared to go into Madison Square Garden, and everybody's looking for Luther. Of course, if you remember back in the previous episode, we know what Negan did to Luther in their fight. But then Maggie and Negan are talking. Maggie's telling a funny story about how Herschel was trying to learn harmonica, and she just asked him at nighttime not to play it, but he still did it anyways, and ended up burying it in the yard. But Negan talks about how this is going to basically be tough for him going after the Croat because it's going to bring bad memories. And while he doesn't tell her, this is basically the theme of that, because it's bringing back all the memories of what he used to be and what this is going to be like. Then we see our group, they're walking outside. Maggie looks down in the sewer, and you see all these bubbles and coming out, and Maggie is told by Tommaso how it's basically the methane gas coming up because you got all the dead under the city in the sewers. And then you see them walking through the sewers, and they're kind of stepping over the dead that's basically laying there, but they're kind of lethargic, and they're just laying there, and we've seen this before in fact in episode 11 or season 11 of The Walking Dead. But they're walking over them, and then they come into this other building, and Amaya, she says that the title in this, and she goes, you get your kid, we'll kill the psycho, everybody wins a prize. And that's kind of the theme or the title of this. But then they come across this kid, and they see blood on the floor, and the kid's tied up. He looks just like Herschel. His head's down, but then Negan, pulls his head up, and we realize that it's not Herschel, thankfully. So we still don't know where he is. But then, after Negan takes him, we see Croat, and he's teaching some young girl or young kid, whatever, how to run the electronic board, which runs everything in the Madison Square Garden. But he hears a whistle. The whistle. Obviously, instantly, he knows that's Negan. But then we see Maggie, but she's talking to Negan, but she sees the beeswax in Negan's bag. But prior to that, she was saying how she needed to talk to him about obviously about the dino that we seen in the previous episode. But then when she sees the beeswax, she's upset because she knows what he did, and then they just go off and upset. Then we see Maggie, she's trying to steal a car, but she sees Ginny, and then she goes after her. And we got the Croat, and he's like, Negan! And he's basically in this cat and mouse game, and he's chasing after Negan. And then we see sort of a countdown on that electronic board. At this point, I don't know what it is, but when I say music did a fantastic job in this, because like when they were leading up to finding Herschel, the music was very basically really intense, and it was just kind of scary theme, typical of what you'd see in a horror or just a thriller. And now you got this countdown, and the same type of type of music's going on, and they're looking for Negan. And by the way they got these cars tricked out, holy cow, they like it's something you got to see, because they're badass. They are ready to take on walkers as they're driving through the city. But then the countdown ends, and then you see this barrel of methane gas, and there's a candle. As it goes down, all the doors blow up, and the walkers, they start coming in, and Maggie and the group they're all trapped by the octagon. You see them coming through all the doors of Madison Square Garden, coming right towards them. And this, now they're playing some sort of opera music, and they got the lights going everywhere. It's absolute craziness in Madison Square Garden, and it just sets up this badass fight scene where Maggie's just killing walkers left and right, and our group is Amaya. We see some of our guys go down, but Amaya sees Tommaso, and it looked like he was taken down by the walkers. I'm like, oh my god, we just lost Tommaso. And eventually this group, there's like 4 of them left. We got the scavenger from the previous episode, Ginny, and Maggie and Amaya. But Maggie was getting ready. She saw a way to get out, but she saw Ginny was stuck in the octagon, so she went back and then had them all get in there. They got the sides, like the cushions, to eventually get them out, but we lost the scavenger, which sucked, because I liked her character. But eventually they do get out, and this was a really cool scene. The Croat eventually finds Negan, and a really cool like camera angle. You got Negan, he's down on a lower platform, and the Croat is up above on another balcony, basically scaffolding, and he kind of looks down, turns around over fast, while Negan is kind of up like this, and Croat's talking about Simon, and then he's saying how, look what I did. I learned, basically saying, I learned this from you, and I have grown this into a new sanctuary, just very boastful and just bragging about him. And Negan's like asking, where is he? Of course, he's talking about Herschel, but then Croat brings out the Marshal, and thinking that's what he wants, but he doesn't want to give him Herschel. He said, I can't do that, but he throws the Marshal over, and the Marshal kind of grasps the bar for the scaffolding, and he almost falls, but Negan saves him. And then the Croat shoots down with that type of gun that looks like a drill, and shoots in his leg, but Negan actually, he saves him, and the two escape. And then at the end, the Marshal's like, he wants to execute him still after saving his life. It's ironic, because this guy's coming to kill Negan, but Negan saves him. But now the Marshal wants to still carry out his business. And then Maggie's group, Maggie, Ginny, Amaya, we got Tommaso back. He just showed up out of nowhere. I hope he's not bit, but because he was taken down by a few walkers, it looked like. But Maggie's group, they escape into the tunnel. This is where they know where all these walkers are, and it's just going to be dangerous. But yeah, what a crazy episode. The music was there. The CGI was perfect. The walkers looked fantastic. The badass fight scene. Like, this was an exciting, intense episode. And I thought for a second that we lost Herschel and that, oh my goodness. But very well done. Acting was perfect. We lost a couple people, but great episode. But what did you guys think? Did you like it? Because I'm telling you, this is fantastic. We only got a couple episodes left, and I'm excited to see what happens. But what was your favorite part of this episode? Mine was definitely the fight scene at the Octagon. That was just intense, badass, and I just loved the music in the background. It was just so cool. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I love you guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.